Is Russell Westbrook join Giannis on the Milwaukee Bucks? And is the KD to the Warriors criticism from 2016 unfair? Let's talk about that in this live stream. So first I want to talk about the Milwaukee Bucks and how they may actually have a magical offseason. And here's the thing. We went into this offseason asking the question, is Giannis going to leave the Bucks? Is Giannis going to ask out? That was the question, right? And it looked like they really didn't have any moves to sign anybody. Damian Lillard, of course, tore his Achilles. And it didn't look like they had any opportunities to trade his contract or anything like that. So what do? They blow everybody's minds in the NBA world, and they waive Damian Lillard, waive and stretch him. And I, along with many other people, did not even think that was in the realm of possibilities, right? So they got very creative. They got Miles Turner. They stole him from the Indiana Pacers. Really good pickup. But of course, that is not enough to, make them the favorites in the East and, to come out of the East, in my opinion. But what a lot of us have said is like the Bucks need to have, like how the Indiana Pacers had a magical run to the NBA Finals, and of course they earned it through their play, but just basically how like nobody expected that. Somehow the Milwaukee Bucks may actually figure out how to build a competitive team again, despite all the obstacles. And let me tell you why. Russell Westbrook is still available and free. It was reported he might go to the Kings, but obviously signing Dennis Schroeder makes it probably unlikely. The reports are that he's probably not going back to the Bucks. Back to the Denver Nuggets. And there was a report that he might go to the Knicks. Like all the places where he was potentially going, they have their point guards. Like it doesn't look like it's going to happen. What is the one team that needs a point guard? Well, a couple of teams, but what is the one team right now that we're talking about that needs a point guard? That is the Milwaukee Bucks. Guess what else? Bradley Beal's about to be bought out soon, we think, right? And I don't know, but like that the stipulation is that he's probably going to go to the Clippers. What if Bradley Beal gets bought out? He goes to the Bucks, Russ goes there, and then that's the team. Because hold on a second. Because like 3 weeks ago, we're looking at the Bucks and we're like, they have no options, right? Or 4 weeks ago, whenever this happened, right? And now you may be looking at a roster where they have Russell Westbrook as their starting point guard. You have Bradley Beal. You got Giannis playing the 3 or the 4, whatever you want to put it. I guess you'll put Bobby Portis starting at the 4 if you don't want him coming off the bench. Maybe put Taurean Prince starting at the 3 or 4, whatever. And then you have Miles Turner as the starting center. Now, they obviously would have chemistry things that they need to work out. Russell Westbrook is obviously not a very good three-point shooter. So the spacing with him and Giannis would be, a little funny. But, Bradley Beal played his best basketball, or some of his best basketball, when he was with Russell Westbrook. Because if you remember, Russell Westbrook was on the Washington Wizards when Bradley Beal was there. And that was when Bradley Beal averaged like 31 points per game. Now, of course, that's like 4 or 5 years ago, right? So Bradley Beal has had injuries since then. He's not as much in his prime as he was. But it seems that him and Russ have good chemistry, so they played well off each other. And although the spacing with Russ and Giannis would be a little bit you got Bradley Beal, who is a scorer and a shooter. He can create his own shot, and Miles Turner should be able to stretch the floor, and so should Bobby Portis. So I'm not saying this is happening. I don't know. Again, I think the reports are that Bradley Beal is probably going to go to the Clippers if he gets bought out, which has not happened yet. And I don't know if Russ is going to end up there. And again, I'm not saying they're the favorites to come out of the East if those two things do happen. But to go from literally just what do we do because Damian Lillard tore his Achilles, unfortunately, and they have no money to sign anybody, and Brook Lopez leaves, and what do? To turn that into potentially a Russell Westbrook, Bradley Beal, Giannis, let's just put Taurean Prince and have Bobby Portis come off the bench, and a Miles Turner starting lineup in an East where the Boston Celtics are not competing next year, most likely, and likely the same for the Indiana Pacers. And so you have a wide open Eastern Conference with Giannis, who is a top 3 player in the league. I mean, that that is some rebuilding on the fly or retooling on the fly. Like, to be able to turn the roster around like that would be crazy. And I feel like if those two things happen, if both Russ and Bradley Beal signs, I feel like that actually would make Giannis, I mean, like, a lot of us think that Giannis is going to, like, stay at least for now. Like, he's really, like, trying not to leave because he loves Milwaukee, and that's fine. But if they're able to do that, I mean, let's be honest, those are good moves, and Giannis can look at that and be like, all right, like, maybe I could figure out how to get to the finals with this roster. Because Bradley Beal at $50 million, I get it. Bradley Beal at $5 million? Come on. That Bradley Beal is worth $5 million and more so, right? And then Russ would obviously be coming on like a veteran minimum. Now, again, the spacing with Russ, and they got to figure out, you know, how to play off each other. But, like, at least we know with Russell Westbrook, he's going to play hard every night. He's going to give you effort always. And effort doesn't win the championship, but effort's going to win you games in the regular season for sure. And he's obviously a good player. But I'm saying, like, the all-out effort is going to win you the games in January, in February, to get you that top seed in the Eastern Conference. So, again, I'm not saying that's happening, but I'm just saying, like, if they are able to pull that off, that is a magical offseason for the Milwaukee Bucks. Things would obviously, you know, have to fall into place. Like, they will be getting, quote-unquote, lucky that Bradley Beal is getting bought out at this time, but, like, you got to have a little bit of luck in the NBA. So I'm looking at the Milwaukee Bucks and I'm like, hold on a second. Because, again, just like everybody else 3 weeks ago, I was like, I don't know. Like, I know Giannis wants to stay. I'm like, but it doesn't look great. You know what I'm saying? Again, I'm not picking them to come out of the East necessarily, but at least I look at that team then and I'm like, hold on, they got that. And then again, they re-signed everybody. So they still have Taurean Prince and Bobby Portis, Kevin Porter Jr. Kyle Kuzma is still there, you know? I know Kyle Kuzma didn't have a great season last year, but like with the Bucks, but you still have Kyle Kuzma. So when they re-signed everybody and they didn't like make other moves at that point, like I said, I was like, it's really good to re-sign everybody, but again, are they a championship roster at that point? But if you add Russ, and Bradley Beal and you got Miles Turner and you kept all those guys, and I think they signed Gary Harris too. So now it's looking like, okay, hold on a minute. Like they have some pieces there. Like they have some pieces. So that's my opinion on the Milwaukee Bucks. Like, just keep your eye out for them now. Now I'm looking at them and I'm like, this is interesting. So I want to quickly talk about Kevin Durant. And I mentioned this briefly on a live stream. I think when I was talking about Kevin Durant being traded to the Rockets, I just briefly was talking about, you know, his career timeline and, you know, how he spent a decade in OKC before he went to the Warriors. And I feel like people don't really talk about the fact that he literally had like a whole career before he went to the Warriors and then the Nets and then the Suns, where people, you know, talk about. But I'm like, he literally had a whole career before that. Like, some NBA players don't make it 10 years in the league. And he spent 10 years in OKC, which was his first place. Well, obviously he started in Seattle. They moved the team to OKC. But the point is, like, he spent a decade in OKC, and I think people forget he was the MVP there. He was a scoring champion. Like, he was doing his thing in OKC. So I was having this conversation with someone earlier about the Kevin Durant criticism going to the Warriors. And I was like, you know what? I kind of want to, like, like I said, I briefly have voiced my opinions here and there on, you know, that subject. And I have said, if you watch this page and you watch my opinions on that, I don't criticize Kevin Durant for going to the Warriors. Like, you want to win, right? But now I'm going to give a little bit more in-depth, you know, I guess, analysis on my opinion on that. So I completely understand from a fan's perspective why fans were upset, why maybe other NBA players, if they were upset, you know, obviously Russell Westbrook, you know, Kevin Durant left him. I can understand why he's upset. I feel like Russell Westbrook would be the most upset probably, you know, out of anybody because it was his teammate. But regardless, like, I understand why everybody was upset. because he went to the team that beat him, which is, basically what everybody says. He went to the team that he just lost to, and they had a 3-1 lead. He went to a team that no one really even says this, but like they had won a championship the year prior, but I guess people would include that in the argument, but no one even really mentions that. So like, if you see where I'm going with this, it's like people really just mention the fact that he got beat by the Warriors, and that is really why they don't like him going there. That he joined a 73-9 team. Like, nobody even really mentions the fact that the Warriors won a championship prior to Kevin Durant getting there, which if I was someone who like didn't like Kevin Durant going to the Warriors, because again, it didn't bother me, but if I was someone in that boat, I feel like the first thing I would say is they just won a championship without you, right? That is not even what people's usual argument is. Now, again, some people will, whatever. But like the main argument is that he went to the team that beat him. That is what people say, right? And obviously a great team. This is why I say it doesn't bother me. And if it was any other player, it wouldn't bother me either. And the reason is we are talking about players who their job or their ultimate goal is to win a championship. I get it, the competitive nature. Like, I completely understand all of that. Like, you want to go win a championship. Like, the way that, Dirk won a championship with Dallas, like, people love him for that. Like, the way that he did it. And I get that. Like, to win a championship like that is, like, immortalized by fans and media and other players. Like, I completely understand all of that. But what I'm saying is, like, the ultimate goal is to win a championship, right? And Kevin Durant had already spent a decade with OKC. It's not like he forced his way out with a trade. He was a free agent. He went out he played out his entire contract. He re-signed with OKC after his rookie deal and stuff like that to stay there and try to win. He tried to win. Like, he tried. He literally spent 10 years there. And it just happened to be that he happened to be a free agent at the same time that the Warriors became a 73-9 team. Like, he didn't plan it that way. You know what I'm saying? Like, he didn't know they were going to be a 73-9 team when he was a free agent, because the reports are allegedly, and I don't know if this is true or not, but the reports are allegedly like 2 years prior to that, teams were already thinking about, will Kevin Durant leave when he is a free agent? So 2 years prior to that, the Warriors had never won a championship. They had never been to the finals, like this, stuff like that. This championship, these Steph Curry, Draymond, Klay Thompson, that team. So if 2 years prior, if the reports are true, this was a while ago that I saw this, but like if 2 years prior, teams were planning for Kevin Durant, just like teams plan 2 years in advance now, everyone's talking about the 2027 cap space, right? So teams plan in advance. So if teams were planning for Kevin Durant to potentially leave, then how could Kevin Durant have known the Warriors would turn into this? So what I'm saying is, like, if everybody was preparing for him to potentially leave, it wasn't like he left because the Warriors beat him, or that wasn't the sole reason, right? Because if there was already rumors and speculations that he might leave, that was before he was beaten by the Warriors. That was before they were a champion. So that is why I say, well, hold on a second. And again, I'm not discrediting anybody's feelings. Everyone is entitled to feel how they feel. And I understand, especially fans who are OKC fans, why they would be heartbroken that Kevin Durant left. I have no problem with anyone disliking his move to the Warriors. Like, everyone is entitled to their opinion. But I'm saying personally, if I was Kevin Durant, I might do the same thing, honestly, because you know what? My goal as an NBA player is to win a championship, and I have the opportunity to play with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, who I know Klay Thompson doesn't get talked about the same way now, but Klay Thompson was literally the best two-way player in basketball at that time. There was no better two-way player. You can argue Kawhi maybe, but like, it was Kawhi and Klay Thompson. That was it. And nobody got hotter than Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson's averaging 20 while guarding Kyrie Irving and James Harden every single night. And obviously Draymond was guarding, players too, obviously, as the defensive player of the year. But like, Klay Thompson was taking the point guard assignment when Draymond was not on the floor every night. And even when Draymond was on the floor, he might still be taking the point guard assignment because Draymond might be guarding the power forward or whatever, or the center or whatever it is. So we're talking about the opportunity to play with like a beautiful basketball team in terms of how they play. Like they play beautiful basketball. So he has the opportunity to do that. He's a free agent. Again, he did not force his way out. I feel like that's really important because I feel like the story may be a little bit different if he lost the Warriors and he was like, please trade me there. You know, I feel like that is a little bit quote unquote worse, right? Because that is him requesting out of his team to go to that team, right? This was him being a free agent. Like he had the free choice to choose any team he wanted in the league, right? So that's one thing. The other thing that I feel like is important to put in perspective is that let's say Kevin Durant is a free agent and he goes to the Miami Heat, because I remember that was one of the teams at the time who really wanted Kevin Durant. They still wanted Kevin Durant now too, but like, let's just say he goes to the Miami Heat, and Miami Heat always figure out a way to win, so I feel like that might be a bad example of a team, but let's just say he goes to the Miami Heat and he doesn't win a ring. And let's say he goes the rest of his career and never wins a ring. Do you know what Kevin Durant has to do for the rest of his life once he retires? Think about, I never won a ring. I never won a ring. And there are a lot of NBA players who are retired who, like, it's really hard to win in the NBA. So I'm not blaming anyone who didn't get a ring like, oh, it's your fault necessarily. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying, like, a lot of NBA players who retired who didn't win a ring, who were like star players, they're like, oh, I wish I could have won a ring. Like their biggest regret, that they just wish they could have won a ring. And sure, everybody would love to win a ring the way that Dirk did it in Dallas. That, of course, everyone would love to win a ring where like they win with the franchise that they were with their whole career. And, you know, like that's the storybook, of course. But like, it doesn't always work out that way. And to me, what's worse is that you have to remember this is affecting Kevin Durant's life only. It only affects him at the end of the day. Like, people could be upset at him leaving and go to the Warriors and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, he is really the only one that has to live with the decisions that he makes in life. Just like whatever decisions you make in life, you have to live with. And so Kevin Durant is like, I want to win a ring. And by going to the Warriors, he was able to do that and be Finals MVP and was awesome on the Warriors. And again, whether fans or people value his rings the same way as maybe like if he won in OKC is not really my argument. It is not really something that like I am here to debate with you. What I'm saying is like, I feel like if I was Kevin Durant, I feel like if a lot of people were Kevin Durant in his situation and they had that opportunity, I know people are going to say, oh no, I wouldn't do that. Like, I would never join, I would never join the Warriors. It's easy to say when it's not you, right? Like, it's really easy to say. And I'm not saying that everybody would have done it. But there are plenty of people who would have been like, I've been trying to win for a decade. I had the perfect opportunity. I can still get a max contract because they have the money to pay me. So it's not like he ended up having to take a pay cut or not much of a pay cut at all. I get to win a ring. I get to play so much. I have so much fun playing basketball. Like, we win. We're great. There's no drama, like all this stuff. And I'm a champion. And I just feel like you look at that and you're like, what's better than that? Like, I understand everyone's perspective on how he got the rings and all that stuff. I'm just saying, I feel like the regret of not going and not ever winning a ring potentially, like the regret of not at least trying, in my opinion, could be worse than trying. Like, I feel like you got to try things to find out. Now, obviously, like, don't hurt people in the process and stuff like that. Like, I'm saying, like, please, when you make your decisions, do decisions and make decisions in good faith and stuff like that. Like, don't try to hurt people. But what I'm saying is, like, at the end of the day, it's his life. And so now he gets to say, I'm a champion, and he won a ring. And again, I just feel like it's a great outcome. So thank you guys so much for watching this live stream. I hope